And we're live. What up, fans? Welcome to Getting Shredded with Sid. I'm here with my boy Joey, who we went to middle school together, and just he's been doing like a lot of videos on Instagram and getting huge. And his your journey's actually been pretty fucking nutty, man. So I definitely want to have you tell the people how you went through, what you went about. But wanted to get him on the show, riff a little bit about life, about working out, about certain things that he's gone through and experiences that he has that is hopefully going to help you guys out. So without further ado, Joey, man, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot. So basically, I started off, I've known Sid since, what, 6th grade?
Was it you came in 6th grade?
Yeah.
So middle school, okay.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I grew up, my family's from Chicago, and then I grew up out here.
Whoa, hold on. Your family's from Chicago?
Yeah, bro.
Yo, since when?
Since forever, dog.
No way.
whole
What
life
part?
has
Wait,
been-
what part?
My whole life has been from Chicago and everything, bro.
I didn't know. How did I not know that? I just thought your grandma was just from like Sicily.
No, yeah. So my mom and dad are first generation out here.
Okay.
And then their
They're
family.
both Italian?
Yeah. So, well, yeah. My dad's side's from Sicily, so that's kind of like saying like you're an American. Like they don't really know it's a port city.
Yeah.
So, and then my mom's side is from the small little like the most southern part of Italy. It's called Trigano. It's like the south of Italy. So it's like kind of like they're kind of like the Southerners. Like they have really bad slang when they talk. Like, everything's cut super short.
yeah.
So like they're kind of they're like a different type of like Italian sounds such a beautiful language when you hear people speak it, and you hear like a Trigano dialect.
And you're like,
And you're
you
like,
guys are
what
the
the fuck?
runs. You guys are nasty,
Like,
bro.
what are you
Yeah,
talking
you're
about?
fucking gross.
Yeah. So
Country bumpkins.
yeah, so they moved from there. When the war started, my mom's father, went to, I always want to say Puerto Rico, but that's wrong. It's either Costa Rica or Puerto Rico. I forgot which one it was. And then
One of the Ricos.
one of the Ricos. Shout out to the Rico. I might just get hit with the Rico. And then from there, they went to Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they grew up in Chicago. When did they get to Chicago?
What was it? Probably late 60, like 65, 66, around there.
So they were
It's
young.
been a minute. Yeah, they were young.
Okay.
Yeah, so my mom was born 67, 68. Yeah, so right then, right around there.
You know what like city, like where they grew
So
up.
Addison, like Schaumburg, right around there.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Dope.
So
I know
not
exactly
too
what
far
it
at
is.
all. Yeah, my grandfather still owns the same shop that he started.
That's hype.
It's-
Is he there, man? If I
He's
showed up and
still
said,
there right now.
all right, man, I'll
Yeah.
have to go look him up. All
Yeah.
right. So they're from Chicago. How long were they there for? They lived there for like.
They're still there. I mean, my family, we moved out when I was a kid. I was young. I was maybe like 10. around
Okay,
there.
so you moved out when you were 10.
Yeah, and then we came out to California. My dad had a energy business, and they came out here and then started up a restaurant just like for a hobby.
Yeah.
With his best friend that's also from Chicago.
Vibe.
Out this way.
What
it
they
was
make,
actually-
bro,
it
what
was where
they
Tony
make.
Pepperoni's was at.
Okay.
It was my dad's restaurant before. It was another pizzeria.
Okay.
It was, yeah.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like pizza. Is it like deep dish and stuff?
They were like full Chicago style.
Yeah, yeah,
So it
and
was
they're
dope. So
crushing.
we had that, and then they had all that basically for a few years, and they sold that off. So it was cool. So yeah, so then that, and then what was the journey? Yeah, so then the journey was from following that, going from Chicago, we came here, and then just started coming up from, lived in San Clemente, and then we moved from San Clemente to San Juan Capistrano, which isn't too far.
Gotcha. Okay, and you just lived in. So how long were you in San Clemente? Do you think like until when?
I was young. I mean, still. So like, I think we first moved to Aliso Viejo for a second when we got here from Chicago, and then from there it was
This
only
is
a
the
few
place.
months. Went straight to San Juan, and then from San Clemente to San Juan. So I think it was only like maybe 5 years. 4
Oh,
years.
okay. So it was like when you're relatively young.
Yeah.
All right, bro. So we met in middle school. You came over with you and your brother. Let's talk about that a little bit, because I remember you came in, and it must have been kind of difficult going to like a completely new school, especially like a school. So everybody's aware, we both went to private school, and there was probably like 12, 13, 14 kids.
Yeah.
No, 6th grade was a little bit bigger. 6th grade is probably like 20 to 30.
Yeah. It was definitely different, especially like for myself being in that type of setting. I was
Yeah.
never used to the higher level of education that school was comparatively speaking to what I was at. It's a joke.
Okay.
Not that I was intelligent by any means prior to that, but I always had an issue. That's why I went to that school. So my family wanted to kind of help out with my my learning disabilities and stuff. So they figured that the only way for me to go to that private school was to hold me back a year and then go into 6th grade.
Oh, word. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Let's talk about that a little bit. Like when were you? So you have learning disabilities. Like what are they? And when were you clinically diagnosed with them, or like what is?
Yeah, for a long time actually. So my mom used to always get my hearing checked when I was a kid because they
Okay.
didn't know what was going on because like I wouldn't ever
Motherfucker's not listening.
know that, and I wouldn't enunciate words properly.
Okay.
So like people would always ask my mom if I was speaking Italian to her,
Oh.
but I was dead ass. I was speaking
English.
the most botched English you ever heard, and they're like, "Oh, so he is speaking English? Oh, damn, okay." Like they try to play it off like, "Oh,
Oh, because they thought you were deaf, so you couldn't
they
hear
thought something was
back to
going
what you
on."
were
Exactly.
saying.
So they thought I was mumbling or something's happening. So the part of my issue is my really bad eardrums.
Okay.
So I always like ear infection, shit like that. My sinuses are all fucked up. So then from that, they got my hearing tested. They found out it's not as bad as they thought. I just have some sinus issues with my inner ear. And then moving forward, then I had speech therapy because I had an issue with enunciating words, obviously because my hearing was kind of weird. So then they had to teach me how to speak again properly.
Speak properly, 100%.
Which I still have an issue with, like trying to slow myself down.
I got some homies who had to deal with that, who had to go to like speak therapy and stuff. And like to be honest, I never even noticed. I was like, oh shit, you had a problem with speaking? You sound great. You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, I remember this little things. Like I always used to joke about. My mom still jokes about it. I always like every time I enunciate like an S, I'd have to go snake, like run it down my arm, like run my hand down my arm. And, like,
you still do it
yeah,
like
all the time, like
subconsciously?
subconsciously, I'll run things down my arm or like little words. Like I have
That's
to-
so
a
dope
pause
though.
between
You know what I'm
things.
saying? And
It's
people are
funny.
just like, oh, because it's just like gestures. You know, it's
Right.
it's part of it. That's hilarious,
Yeah,
man.
it's funny. So like little things like that, I remember. So then that, and then I hated sitting still. Like that was
Yeah.
another thing. Like I just hated it. So especially my mom was really good with that. Where like she kind of understood like I needed to be run really hard, kind of like a greyhound.
Yeah,
So she'd
yeah,
run me
yeah.
real hard, and then we'd go to school and I'd do better and do okay. But like reading was just like for me, I hate it. Like I hate it. I remember to this day. I used to cry when I'd get books that I had to read for school
Oh, for
because I
real?
couldn't sit there and read it because I just couldn't. Like my eyes wouldn't let me read it, and I just would get so frustrated that I couldn't read. That
They were
hated
like
it.
the words jumping all over the page, or like you
I
couldn't make sense of
couldn't.
them.
I couldn't get myself to legitimately like follow the storyline.
Oh,
Like I would start reading, and then my brain would just go off.
You would get a thought, and you're like, oh, this reminds me of that one time, right? And you would keep reading the words, and you're like, oh fuck, where am I in the story?
Right.
And then you have to jump back up, so you're rereading the same thing over and over.
Right, and that's just really repetitive, and I just got really frustrated with myself that I couldn't
Can't get in the
figure that
focus
out.
state.
Exactly. So that was one thing, and then and they always knew I tested high when I was verbal.
Yeah.
I really liked that, and I enjoyed that. I always did really well, and then I could always mock things. I would always repeat things if it was said to me or if I watched it happen. So obviously that's a whole.
So you learned
different-
well in school. You just didn't learn well from like picking it up like on paper or something.
Yeah, so which is a whole nother issue. So that's why we went to that school to start off with. So basically, they up and moved my brother and I to that private school, and then we just kind of figured out from there. And then I get held back because they didn't accept anyone past 5th grade for that private school that we went to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I guess you couldn't go in past 5th grade if you didn't have the same curriculum. So like if you went to the other one in Newport, then you were cool to transfer over to the private one, but you couldn't go back and forth.
Gotcha. One thing I think about a lot, man, especially with the education system today, and like you see it in Chicago, is like there definitely needs to be a huge reform going on with education. You know, we're treating every single kid, and we're teaching them a very specific way in a standardized way.
Right.
But every single kid isn't the same. That's like saying every single person is the same. Right. So then if you just teach every single kid that, like, for example, you hear better from, like, you learn better from like listening and hearing things, right? My little brother, he'll sit in the classroom and he doesn't hear anything. You have to communicate with him like literally through body language.
Right.
But if you give him a book, you're like, I need you to learn this, he'll pick it up in like 2-3 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like his brain just processes and works differently. And obviously he's a smart kid, he's going to Princeton and stuff. But the whole thing is like I don't understand why our education system is just teaching kids one way to do things. You know, there should be multiple ways. Obviously, like you got like 30-40 kids in the school and you got to try to like batch train them, right? But there's an element of, all right, well, some kids need like a little bit more special attention and they need to be taught a different way. So you should almost like tailor certain teachers to like certain people, like Mr. Moore almost, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I remember him.
he was the dude, you know what I'm saying? But he taught a very specific way. He taught like very much like verbally with his gestures and stuff, opposed to like our 8th grade teacher who was very much like structured and disciplined.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That worked well for me, but it wouldn't have worked well for like other people.
You know what's funny though? I love her. I think
Yeah,
about her all the
100%.
time, bro. I think about her all the time. I always like wish like a little part of me wishes I could have been like damn, I appreciate you. I really do appreciate her because like
she around?
was a.
Do you know?
I don't know. I
should
don't
find
know.
out.
I would love to find out. She got to be 1,000.
Yeah,
now, bro.
she's
Like,
pushing it, bro.
So she's a damn dinosaur.
Dude,
but
but yeah, I remember her
that
too,
lady
man.
was a
G.
shoot.
Fucking
She took
G.
nothing.
Yeah.
And I loved. I mean, I looking back, I hated her too with every ounce of my soul when we were in that class. But then you look back and like, damn, she's a tough woman.
How much did she fucking teach you too, bro?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
She took nothing.
So much. You know what I'm saying? She's like, no, bro, like you're gonna hate me now, but you're gonna look back at me and you're gonna fucking love me, man.
But what a special person. I always think about that too. I'm thinking of her and I'm like, damn, you had to deal with like 5 of me. There's tons of us in that class.
Yeah.
That were like that.
Dude, and that's just one class. She's been doing that shit for 40, 50 years.
And that's what I'm saying. Like that type of person.
Yeah. She's a master of the craft, bro.
Yeah, she has
master
to be.
teacher.
Yeah, she
master
was
fucking teacher.
Beautiful at it. And that was the cool thing about it. He was like, yeah, she knew she was hard.
Yeah.
But like she knew just how to give you enough reward with like when she was being a hard ass, she'd be like, she would give you just enough amount of good job and reward and give you that appreciation that you're like, oh, sick. Okay, cool.
Dude,
and then she would go back to her way of being a hard ass. And you're like, all right, I can crack you. And like cracking her was like what you wanted to do. Make like a goal.
And then she was almost like she was letting you do it. You know what I'm saying? It's like perfect psychology. Just fucking training these kids, man.
Right.
She was the GOAT though, for sure, bro. 100%.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about like socially what it was like for you, because I definitely remember being there and like you were the new kid, and especially for me, I was like, man, fuck this new kid, bro. But you were relentless though. You're like, nah, bro, I'm here and I'm hanging out. I ain't going nowhere, bro. Like, but I was always like, dude, this dude's always around, man. He's always trying to fucking kick it, and it's something that I've kind of have been noticing now. You know, where a lot of like the best friendships form from the dude who just refuses to quit. And it's just like, it's almost like a life lesson, but like, I think social skills are very, very, very important in life too. And that's a social skill that's almost like lost, is the art of like being like, yo man, like I like you guys and I'm gonna get you guys to like me no matter what, regardless, you know what I'm saying? Like you guys can hate me, but I'm still gonna keep chipping at it, you know? And then like over time, like it definitely was just like you became like one of the dudes who like I remember always being like, yo bro, like let's hang out, let's kick it, you know what I'm saying? Right. And stuff like that. So talk to me a little bit about like what it was like trying to jump into a new group where like obviously we had been going to school together since like preschool, right? And you were trying to like, you were obviously coming in with a new type of energy and a new dynamic, and you were trying to like shift it up, you know?
Yeah, it's just, you know, as a young kid, I just wanted to have, you know, friends that he liked.
Yeah.
You know, and that was one thing that in school I always had friends. In like my public school was everyone knew me as the kid that just I was just the kid that everyone knew, and everyone was like would joke. I was always in like I didn't even like musicals or like plays, and I was in fucking plays and musicals. I didn't even like stuff like that, but I did it because I just liked being around people. And I like different people. I like different people for different reasons, and that's why like I was drawn to you and a few other people, especially in class. Was that like I would not in a negative way, but I was just really liked that you were so different. Yeah. You know, in ways of like, I would see you and like, oh, holy shit, this kid is so fast and so athletic, but he's super smart in class. Yeah, yeah. And then same with a few other people, you know, I would look at them and be like, damn, this kid's super athletic and super cool. I want to kick it with him. And he's so smart. Like, I just want to be like that. Yeah, yeah. And I think like subconsciously I knew that as a kid, but you don't really understand what you're processing. And I think that's something that really was different to me. And that's why I feel it's cool now, especially now moving forward, is just like as an adult, I just kind of look at that in other people. I have a lot of friends that I don't want them to be similar to me. Yeah. I really don't. Yeah. And that's why I like the different type of people, because if you're, like you said, everyone knows, if you're too similar to all your friends, you kind of lose sight of what's going on around you. Yeah. And that's what I don't want ever happen. So especially with a young kid like myself going to that school, it was cool to see different people and understand that, okay, I got to kind of make myself known. Different aspects. Annoying or not, but I'm going to kind of make myself known and kind of be part of this group of people because I had no other choice really. Yeah. So it was cool. I enjoyed it.
But you did it in the right way, man, because you didn't change for anybody. You know what I'm saying? You're like, yo, this is who I am. You know what I'm saying? And like, this is like, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be a part of the group and be whatever it is, but I'm not going to change myself and like start to like denounce some of my qualities or like shed skin so I can fit in with you guys. And I think that's something that's super important. It's something that I think about a lot is like clout bubbles. Have you heard of those? Yeah. Where like you got the dudes who are like setting this, or like the chicks too who are like setting the standard. Everybody has to behave and act a certain way. and they're almost like curbing off differences where you can't act any other way. You have to act this very, very specific way, right?
Yeah.
And it's exactly like you're saying, like when you do that, you start to standardize what it means to be a part of a group, you know what I'm saying? And you lose that differentiation and that like, oh man, you're doing that thing, man, I can live through you because you're doing that and you're my friend and we connect on this one thing. I can live through you now, you know what I'm saying? That's cool to do that. Opposed like if everybody's just sitting there doing the same thing and learning the same thing, it's just kind of like, man, you guys are kind of all the same, right? And then you self-reinforce that you're the greatest people because you guys are all acting the same way. We're like, oh, we're the best.
Well, that was kind of us in a nutshell, though. We were always different, rebelling against whatever you could rebel against in that. I mean, I remember I came into class, I had fucking Slayer high-top Vans on. You would come into class with your shirt untucked with a hoodie on and you had a hat underneath. Yeah. And everything, we always get yelled at. But, I mean, that was just what we wanted to do. We liked pushing that just a little bit, as much as we could. Yeah, but I mean, to a degree. But that's why I think it kind of was drawn to certain people. Is that like, okay, yeah, maybe as a kid you want to rebel because you think it's cool, but then you kind of realize like, oh, you're rebelling because I like that you like to push the boundary a little bit. And that's why I like you, for different reasons. But
but I think that extends past like just the classroom, right? Like it's something where like you recognize it in society now too, where like you have like the cookie cutter standard group of people, you know, and then you have like the rebels and like the people and the outliers who dare to be different and want to be different, you know. And it's hard to do that. It's like a lot more difficult when there's just like a classroom full of like 12, 13, 14 kids. It's a lot easier to rebel and be different than like 13 other people, because at the end of the day you're like, oh man, it's just 13 people, right? It's a lot more different when you got like 300, 400, 500, 10,000 people all acting the same way, and you're like the one outlier, you know. But one thing that I've noticed with you, bro, especially so when we were like younger too, is like your emotional intelligence is super high. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate that.
Do you think that like having, I don't want to say lack, but like having the difficulties and the struggles with the logical, intelligent piece kind of boosted your emotional intelligence level and you became hyper aware of like how people are working? Because for me particularly, I've never really had the emotional intelligence aspect. Like I was always super book smart, but in terms of understanding how people feel, understanding how to connect with people, having that empathy, that was something that I just never really had. It was just kind of like, I'm very confrontational, I'm very competitive, so I was very okay with that. But as soon as I graduated and like actually went out in the workforce, where it's like, oh, now you have to actually like, you need these people to get to that next level, it became difficult for me because I was so used to being like a loner and just doing things always my way. The emotional intelligence piece I had to pick up and like read a bunch of books, but you've always had that. It seems. So one thing that I would kind of like want to pick out of your brain is, how did you, like, where do you think that came from? Or like, how do you kind of think about connecting with people and what is like, where does that come from? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it like a joy? Is it like, you said you like people, like, why do you like people? Or like, you know what I'm saying?
I think it's my lack of educational intelligence that I really like made myself emotionally become, acute to everyone else's feelings. And that's where I was like, okay, cool. So if I can hone in on everyone else's emotions and feelings, I can understand them a lot better than I can, like with my intelligence. So I always understood, like, I can watch somebody understand what they're trying to project to me through their emotion instead of what they were trying to like literally verbalize to me. Cause sometimes I couldn't grasp that, whatever they were saying, right? I just watched their tone or body language, whatever. But
you're literally picking up like, so like this guy's telling you something, but you know nothing about the subject.
Right.
So now you're like, okay, how much does he know about the subject? And I'm going to make a bet on his confidence level.
Right.
Almost like that. I got a boy who does that, who, he's not super, super intellectually smart, right? But his street smarts are crazy. Like he'll come up to you and he'll be able to get you to give him your shirt. You know what I'm saying? Like in like 2 degree weather, he's like, yo, man, let me get your shirt. And like you would give it to him because he'd be able to talk to you like that.
Right.
And one thing that I've noticed that he does is, because he's not super intellectually smart, he'll ask you a question about like the subject, about whatever it is. Like let's say you're like a rocket engineer or something. He'll ask you about like rockets and stuff. And then instead of listening to anything you're saying, he'll just sit there and watch your face, right? And he'll like sit there and like stare at you and be like, all right, man, does this dude know what he's talking about? And if he does, then he'll make a bet on you. He won't make a bet on like how much he knows the subject, because obviously he doesn't know, right? And he does really, really well like that because he's able to synthesize information super quick, because he's not synthesizing it from like picking up a 1,000-page textbook, right? Instead, what he's doing, he's like, all right, how well do you know it? Let me make a bet on you, which is super cool.
I mean, some would argue that's even more beneficial.
It's efficient. It's efficient as fuck, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I mean, that's a trait for sure. Yeah. Especially if you're going to consider it, street smarts, street knowledge, whatever you want to call it. it's crucial.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna do something, or if something's going on, or if you need to make a quick reaction. I mean, look at a military standpoint. If you're a Navy SEAL or something,
Especially there,
you got to read someone immediately, and that's always what I think about. Is like how if something went wrong or something is going wrong, you can see it in someone first. Usually, unless someone's really good at hiding their emotions or feelings, which most people aren't, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But you can kind of read that. So yeah, like you were saying, I think that's a really cool thing that I figured out I can hone in on, because I really vibe with people's energies and their emotion. Like I can really feel someone's emotion regardless of what it is, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because I am molded by other people's emotions sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just the crowd culture, or if that was the way I am, or like if someone else is really emotional, I can become very emotional.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Like I never had a problem. I don't know if it's just because I was a big ass kid all the time growing up. And
Yeah.
like, I never was concerned about people making fun of me about having emotion. But like I never cared. Like if people would get sad and cry, like I'm a crier.
You feel
I
that
cry
too.
over everything. Like if people were get mad or angry, I get mad and angry. Like I understand them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was hard. It took a long time for me to get used to like breaking that down and being like, okay, I need to have my own
Feelings.
emotion.
Yeah, you can't just
And I can't just
piggyback
vibe off everyone else's. But it is cool. It is different though to be like a grown man, or like a grown ass man. Like my girlfriend makes fun of me all the time. Like we'll go to weddings and I'm the guy crying in the back.
Yeah.
Like I'm dead ass the guy crying all the time. And everyone's laughing. They're like, yo, you've known this person for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't care.
It's true love,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah, I lose it. She makes fun of me all the time. But like that's me though. But like then I'm the complete opposite. Like I can, I went to medical school for a little while for like EMT and like paramedic and shit.
That's dope.
But it was cool. It was fun. I enjoyed it for like a few years. And I was a PTA over at a physical therapy office, and so it was fun.
But people came in, and you're like, "Fuck, man, they're in pain. I'm feeling this."
It's
too
hard,
much.
yeah, because like I can watch all the blood and gore stuff, and I have no problem with it at all. It doesn't bother me at all.
See it in real life.
And then even seeing it in real life didn't bother me at all. It wasn't that at all. It was the emotion that got me.
Yeah.
Like somebody, like a little kid that was sad and crying, or like stuff like that, I couldn't
do it.
I couldn't do it. Like my blood would boil. Like if it was like the domestic abuse stuff or like child abuse stuff, that's when I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I don't have that type of, maybe call it intelligence, where like some police officers or some other firemen can like contain that. I was livid. I'm the guy pacing in the corner. Like I can't be around.
I need to go kill somebody.
Yeah, and that's why I can't do that type of stuff. And I just kind of figured that out about myself. I was like, I don't have the self control for that.
No, it hurts. It hurts you too much.
Yeah, it hurts me. Like see a child or see like a woman or anybody hurt because of something else, and they could have stopped, or someone did that to them. It just drove me livid.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of that's where that emotions kind of helped me, and that's kind of cool that. I appreciate you saying that. That's cool. That's something that I do try to hone in on. But I don't know. I think as I neglected that. Like my family growing up, my mom was super emotional.
Okay.
Like she's very similar to me, and she'll admit it too.
Your mom's son or your dad's son?
They're definitely mom.
Definitely mom's.
Yeah, because my mom, similar to me, she's intelligent. She's extremely intelligent when it comes to anything in life.
Yeah.
But if you hand her a book,
Life experience is legit.
she can't. Yeah, for sure. Without like talking shit, but on my own mother, obviously, she's not. She cannot get out like myself right now. Where like it's really hard for her to put together a proper like sentence and like give this like long elaborate statement of. She kind of gets lost in her words
herself,
and she's very similar to me. And it's hard because she gets so frustrated. She's never like honed in on that.
Yeah.
So she kind of like stalled her own education in that way.
You.
But she is the exact person that would do anything for anybody.
Yeah.
And that's kind of her.
Yeah.
But don't get it confused. Like she is a fucking. If you get her pissed off and you get her angry, you're
beast,
done,
bro. I remember fucking loving your mom, bro. Because the thing about your mom is, she was always like firm but very fair.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like she'd always check me, but she would always let me know that she's checking me because she needs me to know that she's checking me. You know what I'm saying? Where it's just like, oh shit, am I actually in trouble? It's like, okay, no, I did wrong, and I did wrong, and I know I did wrong, and we just don't need to have the conversation. But like, I got you, okay?
Right,
fine.
and that's what I was kind of getting at. It's like exactly that is because she was like that, but because my father was the complete opposite, like very much to the book, narcissistic, and that's one of the things.
I always felt he was just super, super like, like aggressive. Like he was just always like, he's like, yo man, like he's like, this is how it's gonna be. And it's like, all right, man, that's how it is.
That's everything though. That's everything in life. And that's why and I feel like that's why I honed in so much on emotion, because as a kid,
you're rebelling against your pops.
Actually, the opposite. I was so much of trying to appeal to him.
Okay.
And I was trying to make him happy and be so much like him.
Oh shit.
That like I couldn't. That it ate me inside.
Yeah.
I wasn't like that. I wasn't that type of person.
So you molded yourself and like almost like flowed like water to like exist around him, bro. That's fucking real. That's deep, man.
So I tried. It's weird because like for all of you that don't know, and I don't even know if you know too much in depth, but like my brother's gay. Right?
Oh, he came out?
Yeah.
Cool, bro. I knew. Like,
I mean, everybody. If you know my brother,
yeah.
It's not difficult.
Dude, but to be honest, man, like first, let me apologize because I was always frying that fucking kid, and I think I was frying you too when I was a kid.
Everybody was frying, but that's the whole thing.
I was wrong for that, though. I was wrong for that.
And I appreciate that. But that was the thing that used to eat me up all the time. Was like stuff like that because I knew that.
Because you're trying to defend him. Yeah, it's just your nature and your person, especially when it's blood.
Yeah, but especially as a kid though, when you're on the other end and you're trying to appeal so much like you're super extreme hetero father.
Yeah.
And then you like verbalize and you verbally abuse your brother. Shit, that fucks with you a little bit. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like stuff like that where I was like, I always wanted to be so overly masculine that I was like, would always prove that like I was this and that. And I was never like that. And that's why now, like when kind of moving forward, I always wanted to be like as emotional, I'd be as open emotionally as I could be. Like just be as transparent as I could be.
Damn, bro.
I remember like I worked at Whole Foods for a minute in high school.
Yeah.
And then one of my supervisors was this fabulously flamboyant dude. He was fucking hilarious, bro.
Phil.
This dude was next fucking level.
Yeah.
And he would sing closing songs on the microphone to tell people that were closing, and he would wear nail polish and shit like that. And he was the fucking funniest.
He was a character, bro.
Super character. But he was the sweet. I couldn't get enough of him.
Yeah.
Like, I loved this guy. Like I loved him, and I was the guy before. I was like, oh, I can't watch that shit. Oh, I can't look at this shit.
Yeah.
And I never had. I didn't know why. Right. And I watched this dude. I love this dude, and I was like, yo, if I can love this dude, why can't I
love my
cool
brother?
With my brother.
Fuck.
You know,
bro,
and you're like,
real.
fuck. And that's what changed a little bit. And it's weird because I felt so bad about it. And now, like as an adult, you kind of like move past it. And it's funny because my whole life is just completely different than what it used to be. But living in a home with like my best friend being gay and my brother was gay, we all lived together, and all my friends were majority either a lesbian or gay. And I was just like, what a weird change of events that like I was so like I've been to more Pride fucking festivals than I have been a normal music festival, you know, shit like that. And it's like it's so interesting to see like you watch, especially with the gay community, they're so open with themselves.
Yeah, bro.
And
fucking
that's
free.
why and that's why I loved it. Exactly. And that's why I loved them. I was like sick. Like they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck.
Because that's what they were born with. They're like, yo, I was born like this.
Right.
I can't help it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like, I tried to put myself in a cage and I was killing myself, and I'm not going to do that anymore.
100%.
So fucking real.
I loved it. And that's why I loved like when I would watch these people, and there's all of them and all of them together. There was never once when I walk into a gay bar and there was hostility.
Yeah.
Like never. And it sometimes every once in a while, like they'd say little smirky comments about like you being with a chick. They're like, what are you doing here? Yeah, exactly.
They know.
And, they know. And it's just, but it's just like, okay, whatever. It's just a bunch of dudes being dudes.
Yeah.
We get it. Like gay or not, you're going to be a dude.
They're playing their game.
Yeah. And that's what was cool about it. And so that's why it was weird growing up, like I was so hypersensitive to my emotions when I wasn't around my father because I felt like I could be free for a minute.
Yeah.
And then when I get back home, I had to be back to a super heterosexual structured,
man.
You know,
that's crazy.
Yeah. So that's why it's interesting, but I appreciate you that you say that because it's like a very opposite of what that was.
Yeah.
So that's one interesting way of like approaching it.
Dude, two things I want to follow up on. One, I've noticed that like I got a couple gay homies and just the hottest girls are always fucking kicking it with them. So like as soon as you can get over the fact like, oh man, they're just regular people too, and like you can hang out with them and you're like, oh man, you guys are dope. I actually like you guys.
Yeah.
Then fucking a ton of positive rewards come. It's like, oh dude, there's all these girls around now too. You know what I'm saying? And then to my story on that is I grew up in like you grew up in like football and you grew up especially like in black culture, right?
Right.
My dad was very, very much homophobic, right? But he didn't really know why. It was just kind of like in him. And he'll never harm a fly, you know. So like, he'll never say it. He kind of keeps it in, but he's always like scared, right? and that kind of like bled into me too. But my mom is super, super open. She's got like a ton of lesbian friends, ton of like gay friends, and she always told me all the time, like look, man, it's not too long ago that like people like you wouldn't exist because interracial marriages didn't exist.
Yeah.
Right. So how are you going to go and like knock down somebody's gay rights? You know what I'm saying? When like who are you to say that they can't do this or they can't be a part of this, like whatever it is, right? And for me, like that was always kind of in the back of my mind, but I never really fed the thought and fed the idea, because whenever I was actually like whenever you see gay people on TV, dude, like they're portrayed and the perception of them is a certain way, right? Yeah. So when I actually ran into, I got like I got a friend who's like a really good homie who's gay, and I met him in high school senior year. And like when I met him, I remember he would do those like little jokes and stuff. And in my mind, because I'm not like a big person, I'm little. I'm like, yo, he's gonna rape me, you know, like. That's where my brain took it, which makes no fucking sense. But I honestly think that there's a lot of like dudes who like in their mind they think that that's what's gonna happen, and they're freaked out and they're scared of it. And after like it took me like 3, 4, 5, 6 months of repeatedly just like being around this kid, just to being like, oh, bro, you just a fucking dude. You just like dudes. That's it. Right. Like you just fucking regular, you know.
That's exactly. I mean, there's a good buddy of mine. That one, I mean, the guy that I lived with for a long time was like that, where he was, I never had that vibe from him, but he was, I mean, this dude was blasted from his feet to his fucking head, had tattoos. I mean, this dude was like hard as a motherfucker, and you would never guess it. And he was a fairy when he started to drink. It was the funniest thing to watch. I love that motherfucker.
Would it freak people out, bro?
It was hilarious to watch people like listen to him. They're like, that's coming out of this guy's voice? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. But then I had another dude that played D1 football in Georgia.
Yeah, just real quiet about it,
6'5", monster, freak, and same thing. And he was just, when he started drinking, become himself. And I was like, damn, bro. Like, it kind of, like, it hurt me, like, emotionally. And I was like, all these dudes want to be as themselves, but they can't.
Because you felt that, bro. You went through that with your pops, where you had to fucking, like, you could be yourself and, like, be, like, the fun-loving guy outside of the crib, but then as soon as you're in the crib, you're just military discipline, trying to please 100%. Your father. You know what I'm saying? 100%. So like that's exactly how all these dudes are feeling, but they're not feeling it just in the crib. They're probably feeling it fucking everywhere. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like they can only be like that in their room, and even in their room, they have voices in their head that are telling them that they can't be that, right? So it's crazy, and that's not only like it's not like a gay thing. I think it's like a human thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where it's just like how many people really want to be this thing, but they're so afraid of other people's thoughts, other people's opinions, other people's doubts, right? That they hide themselves and they close themselves off, that only certain people get to see that aspect. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they saved like the most beautiful parts of them for like 1 to 2 people, right? It's terrible, man. It's just like, I think that's wrong. You know, I think people should have outlets and be able to be open and have those conversations, and we need to have like a more like open and a structured dialogue about it, you know, because I think it comes from like when you're trying to actively shame somebody else and put blinders and barriers on other people. Yeah. You're doing it because of your insecurities, not because of their insecurities. You're doing it because of yours. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
It's the preacher that, you know, that yells at gay rights and then find out he's fucking
gay.
Yeah,
you know?
But the dude has 100 boyfriends. You're like, God damn, bro. Like, why? Just turn the mirror on yourself. Like, you know.
Right, 100%.
Yeah, it's interesting. But, so, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of it. That's a lot of it for me, too. I think that's why, you know, I was going to ask you this, too. How was that being in like a private school too, of like being the only black kid or interracial kid at that point?
Man, I actually write about this. I have a ton of blogs that I've yet to post about this that I think about a lot, and it's not even being black. It's being half black. You know what I'm saying?
Which is even worse, right? Because the aspect of like people, you probably have your black friends that call you light skin, and you have your white friends that
100
tease you or whatever, and like that's kind of weird for me. That's like, because I remember. My mom's best friend she's a just beautiful black woman, and I hate that I had to say it that way, but like it's weird because with Italians are they're the most racist assholes ever.
Yeah,
and because
y'all
it's
ghetto though, bro.
But it was fun.
Y'all ghetto.
Well, that's what I'm laughing at, is because it's like Sicilians are all fucking racist towards each other because everyone is racist to them, and I'm like, yo, that's exactly why you don't be racist to people. But what I'm getting at was that I always remember that her kids, man, her kids used to get shit all the time. My own father used to give him shit. Like people used to give him shit. But my mom and this woman were inseparable. They loved
Best
each other. Like,
friends,
still
yeah,
to this
yeah,
day,
yeah.
still hang out all the time. And she was this beautiful person, and I loved her, and her kids were great. But I just remember how fucked up of a scenario it was, and I never understood why it was so fucked up.
Yeah.
And then my mom would tell me, then my grandparents would say things, and little people and other people in my
'cause
family
you
would
know-
say
you
things.
know- you know what
and I'm
they're
like,
saying.
what the fuck are they saying this for? But it was the weirdest thing because like my father was
Oh, they were like
obsessed-
super racist.
but it was snarky comments. It was never like,
Oh,
but
yeah.
like my father made me sit down and watch film, and like watch tape of like Michael Jordan, like maybe like, but it was the most confusing thing. Like on TV and for entertainment, they loved it. Like they loved athletes, and they would like my grandmother who would say racist comments loved Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
But I'd never understood, like in person, they would say smarky things. It was almost like if you're on TV and you
You're
were
okay.
there, you were so sophisticated and you were so gifted as an athlete that you weren't in their way to air quotes harm them.
Yeah.
Air quotes, right? Because everyone's afraid of what they don't understand.
Yeah.
And then when all of a sudden you were in person, they would just ramble off and say things because they were either intimidated by you, because usually these boys were big boys. They were
Yeah.
like 6'3", 6'4", big kids, and so they were
Terrified,
intimidated by them or whatever. And that's why they would say smarky things. And I was like, fuck, man, how does Sid feel? But being one, probably the only interracial kid that was at
Yeah.
school. Two, being the freak athlete. And then three, being smarter than almost everyone in school.
Yeah.
And being able to mouth off and being able to be more athletic and knowing that you didn't have shit. No one had shit on you. Like, that must have been a really interesting thing for you to go through.
I mean, I think that is why I was almost able to do it, right?
Yeah.
So one thing you mentioned there I want to hop on is Jay-Z says this. Jay-Z says that as soon as black people stop providing the service that they're providing to the world, people remind them that they're black. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not black, I'm OJ. You know what I'm saying? As soon as OJ
Damn.
stopped, yeah.
I didn't know that's what that line meant.
Right?
I never knew that. Oh,
OJ
shit, that's
literally
heavy.
said he went to like a restaurant and they were like, they said something towards black people and OJ was like, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Right? And the whole point is that was when he was in his peak, his prime of playing football. But then obviously all the OJ shit happened and the world reminded him that he was a black man and he was a black man killing a white lady. You know what I'm saying? So immediately all the services that he provided no longer was relevant. You know? So I think that's what you said, like the Michael Jordan thing. If Michael Jordan didn't play basketball.
That thing was.
Crazy, you know?
That's exactly what that was.
So when I heard that, I was like, damn, that's bonkers. But for me, I think that the difficulty is this is something that I still try to get over, and it's very difficult for me. When I was in the 3rd grade, bro, there was this kid. We went to the zoo, and I remember we're just like posted up on the curb, like waiting for our parents to pick us up.
Yeah.
And like I'm just chilling there, like with my backpack, like I had something in my hand or something, and I just feel a motherfucker with his hands in my hair. You know what I'm saying? And I'm fucking livid, you know, or I'm not livid. I'm just like, I'm a kid though. And I'm like, yo, why are you touching me? You know? And he says like, my hair is like the sheep that we just saw at the zoo. And I remember being like, that was like an eye-opening moment for me because I'm a kid. I don't realize I'm different than other people. Right. But then immediately I'm like looking on the curb, like, I'm like, holy shit. There's 2 of us, you know what I'm saying? There's literally only like 2 black kids here.
Right.
And we're in the same family. We're getting in the same car,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So it was something that was like very like, I recognized immediately that I was different.
Yeah.
Right. And then everything that you see on TV, if it's not sports or entertainment, is like gangbanging and violence and stuff. Right. But I didn't grow up in that. I grew up here just chilling, you know what I'm saying? Going to school and doing stuff like, and just like playing ball and like hanging out.
Right.
I didn't understand that like world, you know? I didn't understand like the culture, and it was different because my parents like left that. They came from that and they left it and they didn't want me to see it and they didn't want me to be part of it. Right. So it's like this like weird thing where it's like, oh man, I'm not like you guys. Right. But then I would play football and I would go to the cut. And I'd go to the hood, I'd go to Compton, I'd play Carson, and I would see those teams, and I'd play against those teams, right? And you would hear the way that they talk to each other. You would see the way the parents were talking to each other. You would see them fighting on the sidelines, you know?
Yeah.
And it's this element of just like, damn, man, is that what it's like to be black? You confuse being black with being hood because there's a big difference, and people don't talk about it. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
But then so like you go to and you play on the all-star team with those kids and stuff, and they know your name because you play against them every year, and like you ball out, and there's like competitive nature and stuff. And one thing that you really talk about is all those kids, they call you white, and they call you white because you're getting good grades and because you're handling your business and you're doing your school, and you're just like, I don't understand. Like it's not cool to be getting good grades. you don't want to get good grades. You literally are trying to be an idiot,
Yeah.
right? And it actually like hurt me a lot in the 5th grade, bro. There was a solid month where I was failing all my tests on purpose. Like I would look down the test, I would know the answers, and I would circle the wrong answers, bro.
Damn.
To the point where like I actually got called into the office, and they're just like, bro, like you're answering all the wrong questions. Like you have to either be an idiot, you have to be not trying, or you have to be so smart that you're like doing it on purpose, right? And then for the rest of the school year, like obviously I got like all A's and stuff because my mom fucking got my ass.
Yeah. As a mother should do.
Yeah. Because I was wrong for that, you know. But it's something where it's like you have this identity issue where it's like, damn man, like I'm black, but obviously I'm not black, right? So then it's like, okay, I'm white, but then you're like, oh fuck, I'm not white too, you know what I'm saying? So then you're confused and you're trying to like juggle that and balance that whole time. We're like what am I? Who am I, right? And the coolest thing is, man, is you start to recognize and you start to notice other people who are mixed. Like if you put me in a room with 1,000 people, I'd be able to point to you the people who have a black mom and a black and a white dad or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like we notice each other and we all refer to each other the same way. We're like, oh bro, are you mixed? Yeah, I'm mixed. And you're just like, okay, perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no question. There's no like
That's
mixed with what. There's just one mix to us.
Right.
You know? And what I'm noticing now is like it was really harmful for me and it was really hurtful for me growing up because I didn't know who I was supposed to be and I was existing in 2 different worlds. But now I'm realizing that I exist in 2 different worlds, and that's dope because now I can be the bridge. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I can fit into your culture and I can understand your culture and I know where you're coming from, but I also understand what they're saying and I know their culture, right? And one of the most prominent things that kind of happened to me is in the 8th grade, I went to this all-star game in Florida, and there were 3 white kids there, and they were the quarterbacks, right?
They didn't have no Michael Vick then?
No, they did. But like there was like it was kids from like everywhere, like Florida, and they were like, and they were basically speaking Ebonics. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't understand what they were saying. I'd have to ask a couple times, like, bro, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know what I'm saying? I'm like, no, bro, I have no idea what you're saying. You're not speaking English, right? Yeah, like.
You understand the words coming out of my mouth? No, don't understand the words coming out of my mouth, man.
It's like, literally like that. They were speaking Chinese to me, bro. So then I was there for a week, staying with this this dude who like I grew up with and played like all-star games with, but like I didn't really like know him that well. And then my dad came out just for the game because he had to work, right? Yeah. And all these kids are talking like a specific way, like in Ebonics, and my dad comes there and he jumps into the language. Like, and I'm like, yo, like why are you speaking like that? And he's like, oh, I'm just talking in their language. I'm just speaking to them the way that they want to be spoken to. You know what I'm saying? And that was kind of the unlock for me, where it's just like, oh shit, like. You exist in both worlds, and you don't even know who half of you are. You know what I'm saying? You don't even know the culture that your pops grew up in and stuff. And that was something that kind of like clicked for me, where it's like I gotta understand how these people talk. I gotta understand how these people like move and stuff, and I gotta understand how these people talk and how these people move, right? Yeah. And the reason that there are segregation and there's different groups and stuff is because of lack of communication and like you said, the 100%. Fear which you don't understand, lack of understanding, right? But 100%. If I can be the bridge and be like, yo, man, like. I understand where you're coming from, right? But let me explain it to you, like in this scenario. Let me give you some empathy, right? Yeah. And then generally people are cool about it. They're just like, oh shit, man, I didn't think about that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you're right, you know. And then you have like real conversations.
I mean, that's the whole Malcolm Gladwell book, Talking to Strangers, essentially, right? Yeah. I mean, that whole thing. That's literally the whole book in itself, really. But just the difference.
I didn't read that one. Give me a synopsis. Probably got to go pick it up now, though.
Shit, dude. Well, first off, Malcolm Gladwell is just a monster of an author.
He's mixed.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I love that dude. I listen to all of his interviews. I love his. Actually, the one with him and Oprah is phenomenal. By the way, shout out to that one. Because actually he talks about this book too, but it just basically breaks down all the barriers between like people being confused about different races. That's all it really breaks down in general. And he's just such a beast about like getting into the nitty gritty details that no one wants to talk about.
Psychology, yeah.
But he does it in such an elegant way of like doing it, and no one feels insulted by it. Right. And that's the beautiful art that he does. It's like every time he gives a synopsis of something, it's not offended. You're not offended by it. It's not an offensive way of approaching it. And you're like, oh, that's really cool. And he doesn't favor the white side, doesn't favor the black side, doesn't favor the Asian, whatever. He doesn't give a fuck. He just tells you this is what the numbers say, and boom, he gives it out. Yeah. Which is dope. But you need someone in that middle ground. He has, I'm sure growing up, he wouldn't call it a gift of like being able to be mixed. Yeah. But he has that.
No, it's a gift. It's a gift now.
But now it is.
Just like you
said.
He
can talk about both ends. Mm-hmm. And a relatively sane person would consider that, okay, cool. He understands both sides. Yeah. Especially being in the way that he was growing up and the way he was raised, and especially the way his mother was raised. I don't know if you read any of his books before. Like his mother was.
Yeah. She was like she was a slave, right? Like in
Bro, she was Jamaican, and yeah, she was just like a gnarly background. And I was like, fuck,
and he grew up poor and stuff too. Like
dude, and that's why I love, because he's like, that's a great example of somebody that can understand exactly what you just said, like learning that both ends. Because all I wanted my whole life to be was different, but I couldn't be different, right? And especially being like, I would see different people be themselves was so cool and interesting.
But it goes the other way, bro. Like my whole life, I wanted to be the same, but then the world told me I was different. So then, exactly like you said, like, how did you excel in all these things? For me, it was like, oh, I'm gonna be different.
Right.
All right, fuck, I'm gonna flex on you then, and I'm gonna be different in a better way to where you are, like, you know what I'm saying? And there's this deep insecurity where it's like, I need to dominate everybody now, and it's still in me, and I'm fighting it, bro. I'm trying to get rid of it, because there'll be nights where I'll wake up at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, and it's not just because of like being mixed. It's just I think ultimately as humans we wanna connect, man. We wanna feel connection and bonding with other people. Like we want to like collab on certain things and be like, oh man, you like this? Fuck man, me too. I like that too.
Yeah.
You know, and so like, that's like a big thing for me, is like I've always felt different my whole life, whether it be super like smart and like intellectual and like in the books and understanding it, or whether it be like through like my skin tone or whatever it is. So it's always been like, all right, if I'm gonna be different, I'm gonna be different in a way that I want to be different.
Right.
You know, and I'm trying to pull that back to be like, I am different and I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying?
But I mean, that must have been, I mean, for your pops must have been crazy. Like being here in Laguna Niguel, and especially in this type of like area where, you know, your pops is, you know, the smart, intelligent, athletic, Olympic, you know, Olympic trial and Olympian. And he's hanging out with all these, call it, maybe not, maybe I'm over exaggerating, but super Republican white dudes.
Yeah. He doesn't notice it, bro. He doesn't notice it.
That's awesome, and he shouldn't fucking have to notice it. That's my point. It's like exactly that. Or like, I loved was it Power? It was Charlemagne had a podcast, had an interview, with Jay-Z that was phenomenal.
Okay,
and I loved it because I love. Do you know Charlemagne?
Yeah, the God.
Yeah. So he has that you know, Power 105 or Power 106, whatever that.
Breakfast Club.
Yeah, Breakfast Club thing. Have you heard that one with Jay-Z?
From when he was.
It's like 2013. It's like a while
back
back
in the day. Okay,
you heard that one?
Yeah.
But I go back to that one because Jay-Z is a perfect example of what like any ignorant person would consider a black guy from New York that's from the hood. Yeah. And you hear him talk, and you listen to how fucking intelligent he is,
and you're like,
and the businessman this man, and how smart this man is, and you're like, holy fuck, this guy is unbelievable. Yeah. And I love that. I love people that break past barriers and show who they don't have to be a stereotype. Yep. Which is awesome. Like I love all of that. Like I'm a obviously fanatic. I love Kobe Bryant. Yeah. Fucking, I mean, I'm dead ass for 2 days. I was mourning like it was my family member that died when that man died. And I was so bummed. For all of you that can't see on the audio, I have a giant Kobe tattoo on my shin. But I was so bummed because listening to all of his podcasts and all his interviews.
Dude, when he was coming out and talking, the Mamba mentality.
Bro.
That man I just thought he was a basketball player. I didn't realize he was a fucking psychopath. Like when it came to basketball, you know what I'm saying? Like Nazi. He could have been a surgeon. He could have done whatever the fuck he wanted to do.
The man spoke in different languages to shit talk his opponents. Yeah. Get on the level.
Dude, he's smarter than you. He's smarter than you, and he's better at basketball.
And he's better at everything. Yeah. Like, the man played soccer, was phenomenal. The man did anything. He was a phenomenal athlete.
Freak, bro.
Everything.
Freak.
And that's what, like, to me, I love that he can, was a person that just broke past all barriers, all of it.
Shattered stereotypes.
The only black kid in Italy that played in this. They used to tease him, make fun of him, do whatever. And he comes to America, and everyone teased him because he was proper. Yeah. Right? He spoke.
So he's feeling the same thing I'm feeling.
For sure. That's what I was getting at. It's like, that's where, like, I love that because he was like, fuck y'all. Watch this.
Yeah. Now I have to ball on you. You know what I'm saying?
But he didn't even let that. He didn't let exactly like that.
Well, he fueled it. If he used it as fuel.
But then he also was like, hey, look, you can be intelligent.
Yeah, you could be both.
And you can understand how to be.
He was the model.
He was the epitome of the model. Mm-hmm. And that was such like a beautiful thing to like watch because I obsessed over him because of that. His work ethic was next to none. Nobody worked like that. Then
Yeah.
he was so intelligent. He learned other people's playbooks. He memorized the fucking referee book.
Yeah,
so he
which
knew
is-
how to.
Chris Paul
to get
does
around-
that too, though. You know,
Yeah,
it's
but
like
Chris Paul's a
Paul,
G
yo.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, Chris Paul's a G too. Yeah, shout out to you and your Clippers. I know you're a Clipper.
I
diehard.
hated Kobe. I hated Kobe.
I know.
Until he started coming out with this podcast stuff, and then I was like, oh shit, I need to re-examine, I need to reevaluate my fucking life or my opinions, my biases of him, because this dude is something else. You know what I'm saying? Love him as a person, hate him as a basketball player, obviously.
Bro, I mean that was a lot of people. I mean, it took me to watch his interviews, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this dude's legit.
Yeah, he's the guy.
And not to mention, I mean, just all athletes, like freak athletes like that in general. I mean, there's so many. I mean, like Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
You look at that dude, and I love
Marketing
it.
genius.
Absolute genius. And I loved it because you look at he showed a video the other day, and I thought it was super raw of him. He put the video of him being drafted.
Yeah.
He looked ridiculous. The man had so much gold on his neck.
Yeah.
You couldn't see his neck. It was hilarious. And he's wearing the most gaudy suit you ever seen. And then you watch him as a mature older dude talking about it with his family and his beautiful house, and he's fishing on his lake.
Yeah.
His
Did
private lake,
he have
loves
like
fishing.
a 30 for 30 or something?
He had a few. I think he had one
Okay.
or two of them. Yeah, for sure. But I'm watching just on his Instagram. He has a couple of
it's on
things
his
I was looking
IG?
up, yeah. And but he's like, man, I was just foolish, and he's just laughing at himself. But it's like, but that's how he had to be. That's how he was. Like that was him. But then he matured out of it, and it was like
something else,
being
bro.
funny. But he's playing both ends. Like it was cool that you can see that, because people that were ignorant would just judge him for that. Oh,
Yeah.
look at this man. Look at this athlete just going, balling out.
It's dynamic,
Doing whatever.
bro.
Yeah, and then you watch him and you go, no. This is a very intelligent person. He was just young and foolish. We're all young and foolish. We all do stupid shit.
Yeah.
All do stupid. Like, my girlfriend loves this. You ever seen that Tiger King show?
No, I refuse to watch that shit.
Bless you. I'm the same way.
I refuse to
Bless
watch
you.
that shit.
Because I get livid. I
Can't do it, bro.
Bro, it hurts me inside. It makes me so frustrated.
To know people like that it's like, oh.
I can't. It makes me racist toward like people from the South. It
Yeah.
does. I'm like, I watch these people. I'm like, these are humans. These are
Yeah.
humans. Oh my god, I get so angry. My girlfriend's like, you can't say things like that. I'm
This
like,
is a
I know.
problem.
Like, I get so mad though. I'm like, look at these motherfuckers. This is what's wrong with the world.
And
the
not
fact
only
that this
that,
is
bro,
what's on.
we're broadcasting it. We're broadcasting it, and everybody is watching it, right?
Could you imagine? I'm like, I told her, I'm like, listen to the storyline, and that this is the biggest thing on the news right now.
Yeah.
A dude that drugs other dudes, that lets them have sex with him because he's on drugs, and he lets them hang out with them because he has this compound of tigers, and then raps about killing a bitch that he hates, and then everyone loves it that he's making fun of her and trying to kill her. Imagine if that wasn't a gay white dude fucking a bunch of dudes and flip the role.
Oh, that'd be a problem.
It would be the biggest problem,
That
and
would
no one would be
a
laughing and joking
fucking
about
problem. Yeah, like because then everybody's like fucking putting their sights on gay people, and that one little switch and everybody's seeing it, and now it's literally changing public opinion. Well, did you see Tiger King? Tiger King had that thing with that's a problem, bro.
And also I was like looking, I was talking to her, I was like, I hate trash. I hate this. I hate that they're like,
This
people
is
love
one
this.
step away from.
It's just unreal to me, and I was like, how can people watch this? But maybe it's my own problem, because maybe obviously it's a problem that I shouldn't say I hate somebody because I don't even know them. But like,
True.
but like that, I'm like, I can't watch that stuff because
Yeah.
it's so frustrating to me, because these people have a platform, and sophisticated people are watching this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are we doing? There's so many better people out there. There's so many intelligent people. And like, I always laugh, or I ask people, like, I get so frustrated, people talk about keeping up the Kardashians or this and that or whatever. Actually, it's about shout out to Kim for hooking up people, getting people out of jail, though. I will
What
say
happened?
that. How Kim Kardashian is getting people out of jail, like for wrongfully accused people in jail and stuff.
How's
She's
she
been
doing that?
She's been doing, dude, she got like a handful of people out of jail for wrongfully accused.
Nice. All right.
That's what I said. I was like, all right, damn, at least you're doing something productive.
Yeah.
But like, you ask all these people that like keeping up the Kardashians, this and that. I'm like, name me a philosopher. Name me somebody who's actually changed the world for a good thing besides selling makeup or sucking off Ray J.
Yeah, you're telling me.
Do you know what
man.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what gets me so frustrated. Like this culture of like being like, kind of bringing it back to what we were talking about earlier with the music, was like the ignorant culture of like, oh, we'll listen to little whatever the fuck, but then
Yeah,
people like,
Lil blank.
yeah,
little insert name here.
insert name there, exactly. But people sleep on these artists that are
Yeah.
unbelievable lyricist.
Or they misrepresent what their music is about. So for example,
100%.
like Childish Gambino, 3005.
Right.
You know that song is about the isolation and the loneliness of fame.
I didn't know that.
That's what it's
Donald
about.
Glover's next level.
Yeah.
I love him, and he talks about go ahead. I don't mean to cut you off, but
No worries.
he's amazing. I love that guy.
All and like the whole song is like no matter what you say and what you do, like when I'm alone I'd rather be with you, you know? It's like the only thing people hear is like, oh, the love song, right? But he's like rapping to like a girl about like his isolation and his inability to like connect with other people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And she's like one of the only people who get it. You know, and it's like oh shit, like you play that in your song and you're like dancing to it and stuff, and like he's out here just like, yo, my life fucking sucks,
Right.
And you're just like, let me check myself, you know.
Yeah.
I just think there's something much deeper and much more real in the world that we're missing, and it just gets so lost in like Instagram, like checking out like huge mansions, nice cars, fucking bottles, strippers all around, whatever, you know, and like that's and it just hacks our like animalistic behavior to being like, man, this is what's important, this is what I need in life, right? But I think everybody kind of goes through the process of just being like, oh man, you know what, maybe it's not all about that, maybe there is something deeper going on, maybe there is something like spiritual that we can connect to, and something that's better than just like the surface level connection, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember when you used to go to my house, but I was obsessed with Bob Marley for a minute. Like
Yeah,
for
I think
a hot
everybody
minute.
goes
Yeah,
everybody goes through that period, bro, where you're just like I am Bob.
Yeah, for like a hot minute. And I used to always remember, I always think about like, why would someone ever want to shoot him? Like I was just so hurt by that idea of like somebody went to his concert and shot him. Do you know what I'm saying? And you're like, why? He's talking about like getting people their equal rights, of getting people like to be treated correct. Like, why would anyone be mad at that? And I never understood that. Like, I never grasped that fully, right?
If your equal rights infringes on my power.
Yeah, like I remember, I know it's a political song, but it's still a song about like being treated equally. But like the, you know, Big Tree, Little Axe, like that song he talks about, the Little Axe. But it's like, I always think about him as a lyricist and like what he used to talk about. And I was like, I loved that music in different poetry or whatever it was, there was always a meaning, and there was always a deeper meaning to his lyrics or their songs, right? Same thing with, like, from my opinion, I think like with Kendrick or J. Cole or whoever you want to talk about that's like more modern in this day and age. Or I was telling you earlier, like folk music style, like Bob Dylan.
Yeah,
like just phenomenal. I love that type of shit. Or you could get on the angry side, you can do like Rage Against the Machine or Immoral Technique, or you can do
System of a Down, bro.
Exactly, yeah. You want to talk about Persian, you know, the Persian War, all that different stuff. I mean, there's so many different people that they need to be exposed, and if you're not selling out, or like that's like to full circle back to this Tiger King thing.
Yeah, the
fact that we're more concerned about watching that than learning about these people that are doing such great things and trying to educate us.
Yeah,
and we focus in on that just gets me so confused and
yeah, like when was the last time Drake released an album that was real, you know, that's not like the Tootsie Slide,
right?
You know, like the last time there was a Tootsie Slide, it's like to the left now, y'all,
right?
Two hops
Shuffle
this
was
time.
cool and all, yeah, exactly.
You know,
but like Jesus,
come on, man, you got one of those songs now, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing it for the money? Like, you have this platform and you have this ability to literally change and shape public influence for the better,
right?
And you're coming out with the Tootsie Slide.
Exactly. And that's where like, you don't have to be like that. Everybody wants to have fun and do different things. You don't have to be serious all the time, which is cool.
Yeah.
You don't need to be like that, which obviously no one wants to be drilled at all the time, constantly. But at a certain point, like, you have such a platform and you're such an intelligent person, like Drake is so amazing at just putting words together and being that the artist that he is. You're just like, fuck, man, you have use
your talents for good.
And that's what gets me. That's why I love people that can do that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, that's what's so cool about, you know, like the Kobe thing or doing whatever. I love that people take what they have and put it in the spotlight, regardless if it's, you know, 1 million people watching or 2 people.
Yeah, low-key, one of the best thing Kobe said, and I've heard this from Kobe, I've heard it from like Ray Dalio, I've heard it from Jay-Z, like all like the big names and the successful people, they all say the same thing. They're like, at this point in my life, I've achieved and I've had a lot of success and I've done a lot of things. I think it's my purpose now to package my story and wrap it up and whatever I'm doing, give it to somebody else in a way that it's going to inspire them to go live their story and walk down their path and feel comfortable doing what they're doing, you know? And I think that's one of like the most important things that I've heard, and that's kind of like why I'm trying to do this, like helping people tell their stories. And I think you've done a great job, man. So we're wrapping up on time here, and the last thing I want to kind of get out of you is if you can leave the people with like one thing to take away from this, and just be like, yeah, you know what, man, that dude is fucking right. I need to live by that. What would kind of be like that one thing that you live by, that one value that you're chasing, that you find is super, super important?
Be okay with constantly evolving. Like for myself, I'm sure I've said things that once this, airs, or once this podcast comes out, and hopefully you have me back again soon, I'll listen to it again.
You can come. We had a fucking riff. We had an hour riff, bro. It was nice.
I'll listen to it again and be like, you fucking moron. You don't believe any of that anymore. Like, not that saying I don't believe it, but like be okay with evolving and admitting that you are evolving. Like nobody should care.
Yeah.
And like, that's something that I really do believe in, is like, if somebody did change their viewpoint on something and it is for the better, then let them change it.
Yeah.
Like, and just let people evolve to be better.
That's
and
cool,
that's
man.
the biggest thing I want to focus on. I want other people to focus on, regardless if it's physical or mental. Just evolve and try to evolve to benefit people and yourself, especially. Yeah. So that's what I would leave everyone on.
That's dope, man. It literally like one thing is I talk about is like, I'm a writer, right? But I legitimately think that everybody's a writer, but we're writing our own stories.
Yeah.
So when I hear that, I literally think of like, damn, man, like what he's saying to me, and the way I interpret that is like, your life is a book, and you're writing specific chapters, right? And whatever this chapter is now, these 10 pages that exist in your chapter now may look completely different than like the 10 pages in like the next chapter, you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And be cool with like the book evolving and like the whole progression and the journey of it, man.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you coming on. Definitely got to get you back in the lab. I had a fucking blast. How you feeling, bro?
That was a good time.
It's fun, bro.
Yeah,
it's
I enjoyed
fun.
that.
So finally, let's get shredded.
Damn.